Ecclesiastes. We'll do a study here. Don't forget the things in your bulletin up and coming this Friday nights. The baby shower and for Miss Susan and the up and coming Noah here pretty quick. So you'll be in prayer for her and Sean and the situation there in Coral, and baby shower at 6 o'clock this Friday night. So don't forget about that. If any of the young people are here that did not get school supplies on Sunday, see my wife right after the church tonight. We want to make sure you get some school supplies to go back to school with. And if you still want to help us, if you haven't, or if you have and you still want to help us more, whatever the case may be, with the stocking of the classrooms for the school here in town, we'll be doing that. And that's this Sunday. We're trying to get the supplies in for that. And real quickly, I'll try to remember all 5 of them that we're focusing on again. Tissues, dry erase markers, loose leaf paper, number 2 pencils, and glue sticks. I always forget one, and it's never the same one. It's always a different one, right? So glue sticks, number 2 pencils, loose leaf paper, dry erase markers, and tissues. All right. Yeah, the paper needs to be wide ruled, right? It needs to be wide ruled paper if at all possible. If you've already brought some of this college roll, I'm sure they'll put it in use to some, but it needs to be wide ruled paper if at all possible. And we're going to be taking that and delivering that next week to the school as they try to get the classroom stocked and things like that. So be in prayer for our school systems as all of them are getting to start back up. And then don't forget our Monday in School Bible starts back on the 14th of August if you know someone interested in that. And let them know about that. And it's $30 a semester. 3 classes every Monday night from 6:30 to 8:30 or 6:30 to roughly 8:30. And something in that neighborhood, right? Sometimes we get 2 classes in, sometimes 3. But that's on Monday nights from 6:30 to 8:30. And if you know anyone to be interested in that, it's about 12 weeks long. We'll meet on Monday nights. And that's a 2-year program. And through the Bible Institute, many of you have come through that already, graduated. And this coming year, we'll probably have another dozen or so graduate this coming summer. And so we're looking forward to that. You can jump in at any time. You just begin whenever you want. And after the 4 semesters of it is finished up, you get to finish up. So we're thankful for that. And the Lord helps us with that. So you be in prayer for that as it comes up and starts here pretty soon, okay? Ecclesiastes chapter 5. We're going to look at several verses tonight to try to challenge ourselves to walk with the Lord. And I want you to pray for me in some specific areas. And I won't give in great detail, but there's some things that I've been kind of looking at recently in my own life and the ministry God's placed me in as far as pastoring this church. And just this past week, I had someone ask me again. There's really not that. It happens very often, whether it be monthly, weekly. I don't really never have kept up with it, but somewhat regular. I get people asking me questions on how did you come to Arizona? How did you get into preaching? What caused you to be a pastor of church and things like that. I won't go through all that tonight because most of you know the story. But I am thankful for God doing that in my life and giving me the privilege of pastoring the church. And whatever it is He's giving you to do with your life, you should be just as thankful for that. Brother Wilkerson, I heard him make a statement when we were up there. Tommy and myself were helping on Friday of last week there in Indiana tear down and put up on some things and clean up from the youth meeting. I heard one of the men come by, and everybody, like I said Sunday, it was really humid. Everybody was sweating, and it was very just what you would expect Illinois to be and Indiana to be this time of year, right? And we was all working really hard. Everyone was working hard. And Pastor Wilkerson came by and he was making me pass through. And somebody made a statement to him, lighthearted statement. And he said, "You know, I would much rather be out here with you than doing what I'm doing." Basically, he was having to do some pastoral things. So it was in the office and was on the phone, some things like that. And it reminded me of what I've even told you as a church before. I love what God has called me to do with my life. The calling of God is without repentance, right? And we don't need to ask apology or ask for sympathy for what God's given us to do. We just need to embrace it and go forward with it. But I've told you in the past, apart from God's calling on my life, I personally loved serving as a second man, the behind-the-scenes guy. You know, I loved that. We were there in Tennessee, and our family had the privilege of living there and serving in that church for a number of years. Matter of fact, my wife was born and raised there, and that's where the Lord introduced us to one another. And for nearly 20 years, I got the privilege of serving in that church. Say, what, you for 20 years? Yeah, it came in lots of different ways. Service comes covered. It covers a lot of things. I mean, it came with cleaning the building. It came with remodeling rooms. It came with putting vinyl siding up. It came with patching the roof or putting in air conditioners. It came with driving a bus and teaching a Sunday school class. mowing the grass. There was grass back there, you know. And eventually it came with, Lord allowed me to serve as a deacon there, and even the last 5 years I got to be the assistant to the pastor. And I loved every bit of that. Every bit of it. So I say to you tonight, don't ever regret what God's given you to do with your life. Embrace it and just go forward with it. Whatever role it is God's given you in the church, and just do that. And that role doesn't have to come with a title. That role just means a place of service. And God looks upon the heart, and He sees the Word. The Bible tells us that the Word of God touches the thoughts and intents of the heart, and therefore God speaks to us concerning our thoughts on why we're doing it, and our intentions on why we're doing it. And if you're doing it with a pure heart, you're doing it with the right intentions, then don't seek sympathy or repentance for that. Just embrace it and go forward and thank God for it. Amen? There's a whole lot of people who don't understand that. A lot of people try to serve in church and try to get something. But that's the wrong intent. That's not the place. And so I would embrace whatever God's given you to do with your life. Do it. So I'm looking at some things in my own personal life. I encourage you to pray for me as I've been trying to go back, if you will. Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But I've been going back the last few weeks and looking at and kind of the notes that I could find when we started the church. The things I have pertaining to that, and some of the messages I preached, I found just a week or maybe 2 weeks ago, the notes from the message that I preached on Sunday morning on the day we chartered, the day we chartered a church. And I read over that. You say, why are you doing that? Because when we moved to Arizona, we knew we were doing exactly what God wanted us to do, and we were doing it the way God was leading us to do it. We had no questions, no doubts, no fears, no regrets. We were just hands to the plow looking forward, you know. And God had put a wonderful foundation in place in our life based upon His Word. And God had given us a wonderful church to encourage us and strengthen us. And He'd given us the Spirit of God to lead us and to empower us. And I've just been kind of going back, and I've been trying to review, and I've been just kind of not reevaluating, but just looking back, making sure that I haven't allowed my heart to be changed. That I haven't allowed my heart to become looking at something other than through the eyes of faith. And asking God to do the same thing in my life that He's done, that He did in those days, and give us the same assurance, the same power, the same presence of the Holy Spirit that we had in those days. And because let's be honest with you, every one of us in here probably had times in our life when we were closer to the Lord and some of our life when we wasn't. And I'm not saying that my family and I are wicked and wayward or deceitful right now. I'm just saying I just want to make sure in my own heart, as a pastor's church, I don't allow things to change my behavior, to change my thoughts. The same foundation's in place, and we need to build upon it the same exact way with the chief cornerstone in place, right? And we don't ever need to replace that. And there's a lot of challenges that come to every one of us in doing so. So I want you to pray for me in that area. And tonight we're going to be looking at something maybe challenging each and every one of us along this line about our walk with the Lord. Ecclesiastes chapter 5. Ecclesiastes, I'm hurrying for sake of time, but Ecclesiastes, to remind you of a statement real quickly that was told to me of a realtor here in town. She said to me not too long ago, she said, I've never heard someone from the South talk as fast as you do. Well, I have to, because if I keep you too late, then I hear it from you, all right? So if I talk too fast, please lay me down, stop me. I don't mean to be unable to be understood. We're just moving for sake of time as quickly as we can, all right, amen? Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 1, the Bible says, keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of God, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with thy mouth, and let not thine heart be hasty to utter anything before God. For God is in heaven, and thou upon earth. Therefore let thy words be few. For a dream cometh through the multitude of business, and a fool's voice is known by multitude of words. When thou vowest a vow unto God, defer not to pay it. For he hath no pleasure in fools. Pay that which thou hast vowed. Better is it that thou shouldest not vow, than that thou shouldest vow and not pay. Suffer not thy mouth to cause thy flesh to sin. Neither say thou before the angel that it was an error. Wherefore should God be angry at thy voice, and destroy the work of thine hands? For in the multitude of dreams and many words there are also divers vanities. But fear thou God. If thou seest the oppression of the poor, and violent perverting of judgment, and justice in a province, marvel not at that matter. For he that is higher than the highest regardeth, and there be higher than they. The Bible says in chapter 5, verse 1, keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of God, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. One of the things I think we need to be reminded of, when we come to the house of God, we should come with one intent. Now let's just be honest for a moment. We can come to the house of God and enjoy a lot of things. We should come for one thing. We can come and enjoy fellowship. Fellowship is needful in our life, amen? Which we can come and enjoy the food which we have somewhat regular around here. And food's good, it's needful. But we should come to the house of God with one purpose, to worship the Lord. We should come to the house of God with a pure heart. We should come to the house of God with an intent of why we're going. You ever done anything intentional in your life? I mean, look, have you ever done anything intentional in your life? I hope all of you have done something intentional, amen? I hope that you intentionally, if you're married, that you intentionally married the one that you're married to. In other words, you had a plan to be married, to that person. And that plan was to remain married to that person. That you entered that marriage with intention. You probably, if you are on a house, you bought a house with intention, hopefully. You didn't buy the house with plans of losing the house. You bought a house with plans of living in the house, right? And sometimes we do things so intentional with our life, but when it comes to things of God, we often just think it's just going to happen. We're just going to sit back with our heels kicked up in our easy chair of life, and we're just going to expect God to bless us. All right, God, here I am, bless me. And we do nothing to line ourselves up for blessings. We used to meet in the living room of a house for 6 years. Our church met in a house. Most of you would know that because you were there. and in doing that, we had one air-conditioned vent in the living room. We had one air-conditioned vent in the kitchen. And that was it. There was an air-conditioned vent in each of the bedrooms. That means the nursery had an air-conditioned vent. The garage had no air-conditioned vent in it. But the garage was used every Sunday. We did put a window unit. We cut a hole in the wall and put a window unit in there. But as Ron knows, he has a window unit in his garage. It doesn't keep the garage cool. It keeps the garage from boiling. That's about all you can get. But our young people use it for junior church. It was a Sunday school class at 10 o'clock. 11 o'clock it became junior church. The hallway, the dining room, the kitchen, the living room, that was all part of the auditorium of the house. Many times even the laundry room was part of the auditorium of the house, and it's just the way it was, And God was good to us. We used to call that air conditioner vent the glory spout. Because people would get there early to get the seat to the glory spout. They got there with intentions. They showed up early with intentions. Because you pack 40 people, 50, we was probably running close to 50 people by the time we moved out of the house into the first building. And at the time, I think the most we ever had there was 81 people in that house. And you think it changes in this room on Sunday mornings when we open the doors and people start coming in, and it goes from 75 or 6 to 79 in just about 15 minutes with the doors open, people coming in. Imagine the living room of a house. Well, the entire house was 1,000 square foot. So you imagine this, about a 15 by 15 living room and about a 12 by 15 kitchen behind it, maybe not that big, 10 by 15 kitchen behind it. And you open the door, people come in, they bring all that nice 106, 107 degree temperature on their bodies in with them. And the house would go from 72, what we try to pre-cool it on Saturday night, to about 90 in about 30 minutes. So people love that glory spout. They wanted to get as close as they could to the air conditioner vent, We never had one time people complain it was too cold. It happened in this room. We've never had it happen in that house. But what I'm saying is this. People came early with intentions to get under what we call the glory spout. So what's our intentions for coming to the house of God? Now I'm being a little funny, a little silly, making an illustration. But they didn't come to church just to get air conditioning because they could stay at home and got that. Right? So what do you come to church for? I mean, really. Do we come? Do we prepare on Saturday night to serve the Lord and worship the Lord on Sunday? I'm being a little silly, but I'm not. Because many a home on Sunday morning couldn't find the shoes that they needed to put on to come to church. Right? Let's just be honest. Every one of us has been there at least once. That something we needed to leave was not accessible Sunday morning. Right? And I know how it is. The devil works hard to discourage us, to distract us, and just cause us to say, I just won't go this morning. At the last minute, something's going to happen. Amen. I have 3 kids, I know. My wife has a husband, she knows. At the very last minute, somebody's going to get sick, get dirty, spill something, drop something at the last minute. It's going to happen. The devil says, why don't you just not go today? We got to go with intent. It has to be an intention. Now think about this real quick. In Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 1, the Bible says, keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of God. What are you coming for? And if you're coming for that purpose, then don't let anything take you away from that purpose. Because it'll happen. Somebody in the parking lot's going to get your parking spot. We don't really have those, but it could. Somebody's going to get your seat. And you found a seat where the air conditioning doesn't blow and you like it that way, right? I mean, seriously. Somebody that is going to do something to cause you to get distracted. You're going to come in and something's not going to be where you want it. Someone's not going to be as friendly as they think you ought to be, or you think they ought to be. Something's going to be wrong. It's going to be too hot, too cold. They're going to be out of bulletins. Something, no matter how little, the devil tries to distract us with it. The Bible says, keep thy foot when you go to the house of God. Don't get out of the car arguing and put on your church face. Come on. Every one of us have done it. Every one of us have had a bad morning, and we show up at church and we act like glory has been on our house that morning. Right? Every one of us have had that bad morning. It's been a fuss, a dispute, an argument, a fight, or whatever, you know. And we got out of the car, and all of a sudden it looked like we'd been with Jesus. Can I ask you a question? Well, if God looks on the heart, where's your heart in a moment like that? I'll be honest with you. Maybe before we get out of the car, it'd be great if we just went to the Lord in prayer after a morning like that. And by the way, they will happen. It's going to happen. But before you get out of the car, how about having a word of prayer? Use the car as your altar right there before you get out of the car and say, Lord, take these things from my memory and from my heart this morning that's distracted me and tried to discourage me. Because I'm going to tell you exactly what happens. It's happened to me. It'll happen to you. You come in the house of God with a smile on your face, but I've got a hurting heart. No matter what is preached, no matter what is said, you can't think of anything other than what's hurting your heart. You came to church because you knew you should come to church, but you didn't come to church with the intent of worshiping the Lord. Look at verse 2. The Bible says in verse 2, I'm hurrying, trying to, be not rash with thy mouth, and let not thine heart be hasty to utter anything before God. For God is in heaven, and thou upon earth. Therefore let thy words be few. Look at verse 4, or verse 3. For if a dream cometh through the multitude of business, and a fool's voice is known by multitude of words. Verse 2 says, basically, don't let your mouth outrun your heart. It's happened. You were here, many of you, on Sunday, and you know Sunday morning I was a little bit different. How's that? No, I wasn't mad. Some people asked me. But I was a little aggravated. I didn't come to church aggravated. I didn't start preaching aggravated. But I was a little bit aggravated because there was some that paid no attention to what was being said, and not only was not paying no attention, but was distracting to everyone around them in a very disrespectful and very open fashion. And I tried, those of you who understand what I'm saying, I tried using their name to get them to pay attention, and it done nothing. There was no more attention given than before I used their name. And I wasn't mean to them, right? I mean, agree. I wasn't mean or unkind. Right? No. But that was really disrespectful. Even if it was to people who they knew. For one thing, they had a friend with them who had never been to their church before. That friend got the false reason of being in church. There was a visitor, a first-time visitor, sat behind them, got misled. Now think about this. I wasn't trying to be unkind or nasty. But there was an intentional reason I stood behind this pulpit. And it was not to entertain anyone. It was to open God's Word. I tried my best on Sunday to honor verse 2 here of not letting my mouth outrun my heart. I really did. I tried to be kind. I wasn't mad at anyone, and then right in the middle of the invitation, starting invitation, one gets up and walks out. Not because they were leaving or mad, just because they didn't care. And then came back in. And I simply said in invitation, no one moving around, everyone sitting up straight, with their heads bowed and their eyes closed. Now, listen, those people I'm not mad at. I'm disappointed in. They were plenty old enough to know what their behavior was and the disrespect they were giving. They were plenty old enough to know that. Mm-hmm. So here's my point. I've handled that situation wrong many a time in my life. My wife can tell you. Within me, there's a very short fuse. I've asked the Lord to help lengthen that fuse over here. As a matter of fact, I've asked Him to shorten the dynamite. You know, even if the fuse goes off, please, Lord, don't let it blow up as big. You know, seriously, my wife will tell you. When we were married, when we were first married, I would throw the hat down just to get the reason to argue. You know, I didn't have to drop the hat. I'd take the hat off and throw it down just to get the argument. You know, I mean, I was short fused. But I've asked the Lord to help me with that. You know why? Because when I started to preach in 1998, by looking at those qualifications of pastors, knowing He wanted me to pastor a church, I couldn't be a brawler. Now that word brawler doesn't mean that I can't defend myself or my family. That's not what that word means. It means I shouldn't be the instigator. I shouldn't be looking for a fight. So I'd ask the Lord to help me with that. I'm still very quick at times, and I've said some things sometimes I probably shouldn't have said, and I've said some things at the wrong time. Maybe it could have been said at just a different time. So I've asked the Lord to help me with that. So I'm asking the question tonight of the Scriptures, not to get you to answer, but to get you to contemplate what Scripture says. How many times has your mouth outran your heart? I just told you about mine. If we come to the house of God, we're not going to let our foot be moved. We're going to come with intents to serve and worship the Lord. Then in verse 2, the Bible says, "And be not rash with thy mouth, and let not thine heart be hasty to utter anything before God. For God is in heaven." And the Bible says, "And thou on earth. Therefore let thy words be few." Verse 3 says, "For a dream cometh through the multitude of business, and a fool's voice is known by multitude of words." Verse 3 would say this: if you have a business or many businesses or a large business, your dreams are like, how many of you ever said, "I want to be my own boss someday, and I just want to do this," and when you have this dream, and all of a sudden your dream is growing, and it's growing, and I want to do this someday, and I want to do this, and I can't, and nothing's happening, but we've already got these big, huge dreams. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. But the Bible said, just like that illustration, like a business comes with dreams, the Bible says at the end of verse 3, the Bible says, "A fool's voice is known by the multitude of words." You ever heard the expression, "It's better to be thought a fool than open your mouth and move all out"? That's where it comes from. Seriously. Do you know how many colloquial phrases we use that were founded in the Bible? Literally, that's where it comes from. Years ago, Brother Weston preached a message here, and I don't remember the exact message, but I remember some things where I spoke to him about it, and one of those things was this. He said, for every word that we say, he was talking about the creation of God, how He's made our minds and our bodies, and he said, for every word we say, our mind has already eliminated 17 other words that we could have put in that word's place. You know what the Lord convicted me about? I'm probably not eliminating enough words.
Amen.
You know what my grammar teacher taught me when I was in college? No joke. You know what she used to say when we were writing up my grammar? My composition teacher used to teach us. The same person as Dalton, but in composition, you know what she said? Eliminate every unnecessary word when you're writing. Eliminate every unnecessary word when you're writing. That's hard to do for somebody who was raised where I was raised. Because we like to use the word "that" a lot. I know that sounds silly, but if you could read some of my first writings sometimes before I narrowed it down, honestly, some of you can laugh at this, but my wife has seen me to write a letter sometimes to mail out to people. I may spend 2 or 3 hours writing a letter because I write it and I'm going, and I have to reread it, and I do reread and reread, and every time I read it, I find another word that shouldn't be there. And I said to read the same word in the same sentence. It's like run-ons, you know, but a run-on word, not a run-on sentence, you know. And it's not thoughts, it's words, you know. The Bible says this in verse 3, that a fool, literally, the Bible says, just like business has dreams, a fool's words are meaning. When thou vowest a vow unto God, defer not to pay it. For he that hath no pleasure in fools, pay that which thou hast vowed. Better is that thou shouldest not vow, that thou shouldest vow and not pay. Many people live their life as hypocrites by telling people what they've done for God. Literally, you should think about that. They'll tell you about what they've done for God. Just like the hypocrites who stand the Pharisees, and they would stand on the street corner and get them a pedestal and stand up where everybody could see and everybody could hear them. They would cry out. And they would cry out in prayers. They cried about their doings. And they would cry out that thank God that I'm not like them. And they would brag about what they had done, what others had done, and what they had done, others had done. The Pharisees would do that. The religious people would do that. The Bible says, woe to the Pharisees. So we ought to be careful about that. If you vow a vow, defer not to pay. In other words, that doesn't just mean don't not pay it. That means don't let it differ from what you vowed. You see that word defer? It don't just mean not to do it totally. It says not to do part of it. And not to do any of it differently. Whatever you vowed, pay it in whole. And pay it the way you said you'd pay it. I think it's wrong to cheat the government in any way. I know the government may be wasteful of our spending. I know that. But they have to count to God for that. I have to count to God for what I do with mine. They have to count to God what they do with it. What they receive. I have to count to God for what I do with what I receive. I've known people that have been maybe on a salary or a staff of some ministry somewhere, and ministry comes under, how about this, a 501c3 type organization. We'll just call it that. A tax-exempt type organization, whether it be ministry or whether it be whatever. And what they'll do is, many times, instead of letting the organization pay them in full, they'll say, here's what we're going to pay. They say, well, why don't you just reduce that by 10% and then give me a tax credit in a year for that? So what's the big deal? It's still 10%, it's still tithe. Because they took their tithe out before the taxes. They cheated the government out of that portion of their taxes when that was income to them. So what's wrong with that? The Bible says we give of our first fruits to God. What I give to the church has nothing to do with what the government takes from me. The difference is this. One of them is taken. The other one is given. And I give them my first fruits. And only when I give them my first fruits do I find the reward of the blessing of the first fruits. Many of you ladies and men too cook, and you understand, you use olive oil. It's very popular nowadays, olive oil. I've never heard of it used in my life till we moved to Arizona. It was bacon grease where I grew up, amen? And they cooked everything in bacon grease. But I've never heard of olive oil being used. Seriously, you laugh at me, which I'm not a cook. But I didn't know anyone who used olive oil for anything. Seriously. Until just 12 years ago. But you can buy olive oil, you can buy what they call extra virgin olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil, from what I understand, is the first of what is drawn off, right? And therefore it's really only in its pure state if it's bought fresh and used within a period of time, because then it just becomes olive oil, because it's aged as well, right? So you have a 3-year-old bottle of extra virgin olive oil, it's just olive oil. It's not as pure and as potent, I guess we'll use that word, as it was when you first got it. How's that? Here's my point. The idea of first fruits is just that. When they gathered their crops, how about grapes for an illustration? When they gathered them and they would put them in the press to juice them, the first that came off is what they gave to God. Not at the end of the day, what they had scraped up and they got spilt and dirty and tainted. The first that came off is what they gave to God. The first. I grew up in tobacco country, and I wouldn't promote that as a crop because I don't know of anything that can be used for other than the destroying of the body, not the edifying of Christ to the body. But nevertheless, when people grew tobacco, they graded tobacco. You know, the last tobacco they graded was the lowest leaves. You know why? Because that was the least valuable. The first thing they pulled off and graded and baled was the top leaves, because that was their best crop. We give to God so many times of our life. We don't give Him our first fruits. Well, what's it matter? As long as I give to Him, it does matter how we give it to Him and the intents of giving it to Him. I've known people that literally, and maybe we've all done this at times, and I'm asking for a show of hands, and please don't even smile at me when I say this, because I don't want anybody. But have you ever gotten behind on your tithe? Please don't look at me with a different face than what you're looking right now. Ever got behind on your tithe? I know people that got weeks and months behind in their tithe, and they would come to me later and they say, I'm not just pastoring in church, I'm saying other times, other people, they come to me and say, it's been a hard week. I got a bonus from church, or I mean from work, I got a bonus, but you know, I didn't really get to spend it. I was so far behind, it took the whole bonus check just to catch my tithes up. I'll be honest with you for a moment. That's not your first fruits. Thank the Lord you called them up, amen? But first fruits meant you intentionally gave them to the Lord before you intentionally gave them to Miss Visa or Miss MasterCard or Miss Car Payment or Miss House Payment. You set them aside first. If you were to listen to Dave Ramsey on his budgeting, he would tell you right up front, he tells it to everyone, saved or unsaved, his budget says at the top of the page, 10% comes out, that never figures into your budget. Because the 10% is to give. You don't budget that 10% even into your budget. Because it's not your money, your grandkids' money, it's not the boss's money, it's not the banker's money, it's God's money. So that comes out, and if you take that out before it goes to your budget, you never have a problem giving it to the Lord because it came out before anyone else could get their hands on it. You couldn't assign it to anyone else because it was never there to assign to anyone. Now think about this. The Bible says we need to be careful when we vow a vow to the Lord, whatever that vow is, whether it be a vow of service, whether it be a vow of separation. Don't change that. Well, we get so excited, and all of us have had some degree of this in our life, different degrees, different times. We've come to the altar or sat in our seat or we've been at home and the Lord has spoken to our hearts about something. We're going to do something and we're going to be more diligent about this area of our life. And all of a sudden we're so excited about it and we get around someone else and we talk to them about it and they kind of back us off of where we said we were going to serve the Lord. Maybe they don't discourage us intentionally, but after talking to them we find out that they're not as separated in that area as we felt like we need to be. And we went to them for advice, for strengthening, and all of a sudden they're weaker than what they thought they were. Maybe we start thinking we're a little bit extreme and we back off. The Bible says if you vow a vow to God, defer not to pay. In other words, don't just not pay it. Don't even differ it in your payment. Don't even differ the way you pay it. Be intentional about it. This whole passage is about intent. Look at verse 6. We're hearing, suffer not thy mouth to cause thy flesh to sin. It goes along with that same verse. Verse 5, neither say thou before the angel that it was an error. Oh yeah, I must not have been in my right head when I said that. Really? Lord, I'm so sorry for telling you that. I didn't really mean it that way. I wasn't thinking right. There was so much sin in my life, and I was getting right, and I just went to an extreme in saying I would. That's not the Bible says. Be careful about that, because when we're in that moment and the Lord's breaking our heart about something in our life, and that's the moment He's going to guide and strengthen our life. The Bible says, don't lie about it before the angels. Don't ask forgiveness. Don't say, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I said it in error. I spoke too soon about how I would serve you, Lord. That's not, listen, the context is different from the first part of this chapter to where we are right now. The context is not, the context of the first part of the chapter is don't let your mouth get ahead of your heart. Don't say more than is foolishness that your heart can't back up with spiritual. Amen. But this is saying, if the Spirit of God is leading you, don't decline to answer Him and pay what He's asked you to pay in exactly the same fashion, in exactly the same way. Don't let it differ. Verse 7, the Bible says, for in the multitude of dreams and many words, and there are also divers vanities, but fear thou God. The multitude of dreams and many words, there are also divers vanities. You ever heard someone say, well, I just had a dream one night, and they defined their whole walk with God over a dream. The Bible says, be careful about that. I know we can go back to the Old Testament, we can say that God spoke through dreams, but we need to do a study on that word. That doesn't mean the same dream that you have at night when you've eaten too much spicy food or drunk something that upset your stomach. It's not the same dream. It's a different dream. The Bible says be careful that you don't define your entire walk with the Lord, your entire spirituality associated with the dream. Was it Oral Roberts a few years ago said he's seen a 900-foot God? He needs to change his diet late at night. Because if they think he's only 900 foot tall, he is wrong. The Bible says the earth is his footstool. Now, I'm not making fun of Oral Roberts. I'm just saying the statement he made and he ran forward with ministry because of a dream was foolishness. So you're awful arrogant to say that. I'm using the Bible. The Bible says no man has seen God and live. Do I believe God came to Oral Roberts in a dream and revealed himself in a 900-foot fashion and said, you go tell the world? No, I don't believe that. And you can challenge me on it all you want, and you won't change my mind. Because I think it's foolishness. Amen. And I've talked to a whole lot of people, and listen to me. Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I am not opposed to saying I believe the Spirit led me, I believe God told me. I believe if you say those statements, then be careful that you're bowing that vow before God, not before man. Make sure that it's God leading you. Because if you say it's God leading you, then God's going to hold you accountable for that. How many times have you heard someone say, well, I prayed about that, and we just believed God, and they went forward headlong into ill-advised behavior? Can I say something real quick? If God will reveal it to you through the Spirit speaking to you, then He'll confirm it with His Word. Because His Word doesn't differ from God, because it's the voice of God, the Word of God, the Spirit of God. If we can't confirm His Word, then we might ought to rethink that our lips don't outline our heart. We have to be careful about this because the flesh is weak. Right? Everyone's flesh is weak. Mine included. You know how many times the devil's trying to discourage me and pastor in the church and say things like, and I don't want any pity for what I'm saying. Like, please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm just trying to make a point. And you have the same things in your life. They got a different title on it. But it's the same exact things. The devil will say something like, why don't you just change this area? Why don't you just loosen up on this area? And you know what? He'll even use people to say that to me. People that are friends will say that to me. They may not say, Brother Roe, I think you need to change. They'll say, well, you know, Brother Roe, we used to stand there too, but we've just, you know, we just decided we can't defend that anymore, and we just decided to back off in that area. They don't say back off, but they're saying we backed off. And all of a sudden the devil says, see, why don't you get with the program? Why don't you back off? Why don't you change? Why are you so stinking narrow-minded? You know how often the devil challenges every Christian in that way? Whether it's about raising your kids, whether it's about your conviction concerning dress or finances or the job that you will or won't take. You know how often the devil discourages and distracts and tries to weigh heavy upon us so that we'll change our stand? Go back to chapter 5, verse 1 of Ecclesiastes. Know that when you set your feet to something to honor the Lord, that your feet need to remain on that foundation. Serving the Lord, right? I'm going to conclude here real quickly. We could go farther and farther, but it's a powerful chapter. The Bible says, if thou seest the oppression of the poor and violent perverting of the judgment and justice in the province, marvel not at the matter. For he that is higher than the highest regardeth, and there be higher than they. How many of you ever felt like justice was not done in a certain area? Anybody felt like that before? Do you ever feel like that the rich just get richer and the poor just get poorer because of some program, because of some policy, because of some politics? You ever feel like, and by right now, by the way, it's a big, huge deal right now with this health care, right? Let's be honest. A whole lot of people is facing the possibility of losing their coverage at a time when they might need it the most. With higher principles, less claims. Let's be honest. And I don't know the solution. And more than likely, none of you in this room do either. Because we've created a different environment than what our country was when it was founded. And no matter what we think ought to be in place, we cannot change this country back to what it was when it was founded. Because the people of this country have changed. So I don't know the solution to fix all the ins and outs, but I know the solution to please the Lord. That's giving God glory. Because the Bible says when you see these things happening, don't be surprised. Think about that. It's going to happen, he says, in the last days, evil men seducers will wax worse and worse. When you see people being lovers of their own selves and people not caring about the health of others, on the news today, there was a big article about desensitization. How we desensitized our entire generation. One of the illustrations was this. We care more about animals and their welfare than we do about human beings.
Yes.
And I have dogs and I love dogs. But my children are way more important than my dogs.
Yes.
Seriously. We've moved into a time where we have people, the news media, here's the illustration I gave on news. We get on social media and we read these posts, we're just scrolling through our Facebook, and all of a sudden somebody says, pray for my sister, she's facing surgery. We say, oh, that how tragic. The next page, and the next, and we just skip, oh, how sad. And we don't stop and pray. We just, next post, oh, look at that puppy, how cute that puppy is. And we spend more time thinking about how cute that puppy or that kitten is than we spent about the need of a human being. I'm not saying everyone or anyone in this room that way. I'm just saying the news media was talking about how desensitized we have come to tragedy in human life. How we hear stories every day. You've heard them and I have too, even today, of people's lives being lost over foolishness, over behavior that shouldn't have been in place, negligence on someone's behalf. And we say, that's sad, that's horrible, that's tragic. But we don't shed any tears over it. We've desensitized ourselves. The Bible says here, when you see the day and age when it seems like the poor is continue to be oppressed. When you see the time when people are taking away what is needful in the lives of others, it says don't be surprised. God's still watching. And even though there may be some people in some high power on earth that's controlling those things, they're still when it's higher than they are.
That's right.
I don't remember if I read it or someone said it recently. I don't remember either. There's so many things jump around in my head. But someone recently, I heard this, I think recently, I may have read it, about a statement where a missionary was at his children. Their family was getting ready to possibly be jailed and maybe put to death for preaching the gospel. Now, someone, if I heard it, if you heard it here, then we know where I heard it from. How's that? And the question was asked of the father concerning his children, what about your children's lives? He said, I'll be the proudest father this world has ever known. My children stand for Christ, and their lives are taken for that reason. Think about that. Think about it. We would say, well, that's absurd. Now, I believe the priorities are probably right where we needed to be. The man had raised his children and had trained them to take a stand for Christ. And in the face of opposition, even in the face of death, they would not change their stand. And he said, Dad, I'll be the proudest father. Not a sinful pride, but thanking God for their faithfulness. I wonder if we live that way today. Real quick, I'll just give you a highlight of the next few parts of verses. The next few verses tell us that everything in the earth is put here by God. Whether it be the wealth and the mines, whether it be the planet we live on, the grass, the trees, the water, it was put here by God. It was put here for all of us to use. Because God doesn't neglect anything. He not only covered for all to believe and put things on earth for us to be sustained. We polluted, destroyed, hoarded up, bought, and singled out certain things where no one can enjoy like God intended, but nevertheless, God put them here for us to enjoy. To meet the needs of all the people. Then the chapter goes on. And by the way, chapter 5 and chapter 6, just take that chapter 6 and don't divide and just keep reading, because chapter 5 chapter 6 is just one continual thought. Chapter 5 basically concludes by reminding us that when God gives us the strength to provide and care for, it allows us to have some things in this earth and enjoy the things that God has given us. Because that's why He gave them to us. It even talks about that we can set some things aside to no enjoyment, that we worry about them and agonize over them and their value and their destruction. Look at that last verse. I think it's the last verse, verse 20. For he shall, or verse 19, every man also to whom God hath given riches and wealth, and hath given him power to eat thereof, and to take his portion and to rejoice in his labor, this is the gift of God. God gives them to us to enjoy. I wonder how many of us have lived our life. And listen, all of us probably done this portions of time, but I'm not asking anyone to be confessing anything. I'm just asking an evaluation of our heart. And I've been guilty of this, by the way. I'll give you a real quick illustration. I've bought multiples of things before and I only needed one. I have. And you know what happened when I needed the second one later down the line, 3 years, 5 years, 20 years later? Either I couldn't find it, or if I did find it, it was no good. It was dry rotted, broke, and I had to go buy another one. You know what? I didn't enjoy that. I stored it for all that time. Spent the money on it, only to get to spend the money on it again, and for it to eat my storage of it. That's a silly illustration. How much we do with our life? We do with our life. We do with our money. We're so worried about it. And the Bible goes on to say, and I'm paraphrasing, but it says, if we didn't have those things, if we would just enjoy those things, and we didn't pile them up, then we wouldn't be the target of thieves. Because the poor is not stolen from. Because we didn't enjoy them, we just stacked them up. We talked about this in the past. These people that live in these houses that are 40 and 50,000 square feet homes. That's pointless. Unless they have more kids than I can count. Or unless they're using it to house orphans in, what is the point? They'll just have one of those. They have one in LA, and they have one in New York, and they have one in Florida, and they have one, and they got 4 or 5 of them that are all over, and you know what? They got to pay people to take care of them, and they got to pay taxes and upkeep and maintenance, and they don't even enjoy them. They're miserable. And they become targets because they don't enjoy the things of the earth that God has given them for them. And in chapter 6, goes right in, and I'll conclude with this. Chapter 6, it talks about if we don't enjoy them, that the way we lose them often is the judgment of God. Basically, the old expression, you've never seen a hearse pull in the U-Haul. Because at the end of the day, the grave is where everyone meets. Seriously. I know some people recently that passed away that was very well off financially, very, very comfortable, I'll say it that way, comfortable. They didn't even have a funeral for them. Not one person come to pay respect. Think about that. They lived a very comfortable life, as far as people think in this world. They didn't even have a funeral for them. Not one person came to pay respect. Not one person got to evaluate their lives and praise God for their life. Not one person. So I ask you this tonight. If you come to worship the Lord, come to do so with intent. Don't let anyone distract you, discourage you, or stray you from what you come to do. If you vow to God, don't change the way, the time, or the reason you pay that vow. Don't let it be deferred. Don't let it be different. Don't let the devil change your mind. Don't let some other person change your mind. Just be thankful that God opened your heart and God allowed you to do it. And He'll strengthen your power to do it. If God has given you something, gifts of this earth, then enjoy those. Our life is what's valuable, not the things in our life. If you have a vehicle that can bring someone to the house of God, would you use it? I've known people that would. I've known people that pick people up for church until they got a new car, and they said, well, I don't want that person driving my new car. Because they were dirty or hadn't bathed or wasn't in their right mind, and they might accidentally get their floor mats dirty. They're made for your feet, I believe. Did you know that? Yeah. Really? Now, I'm not for abusing. The Bible goes on to talk about that, about we're accountable to God for these things, but using it for the Lord. The body, our life, is what He gave us to use for His glory. The things He allowed us to enjoy We don't live for the things. We live for the life that God's given us to influence others. And if we don't use the things He's given us to influence others for Christ, then what are we doing with the things He gave us? We're influencing people for the cause of the flesh. You have the two answers there, the right and the wrong. If it's not for the glory of God, it's for the glory of man. So the point is this evening. Whether it be finances, whether it be homes, cars, I'm not picking on anything or anyone. Let me change the gears and make this point, and we'll close with this. For the fifth time I said it, I think. Did I say it 5 times already? I try to say it 5 times every time before I finish up, all right? So I think it's the 5th time, so I'll conclude with this. What about the church? It's easy for us to pick on houses and cars and money because most of us don't have a lot of those. What about the church? What about the ministry? What about the life He has given us as individuals to be used for His glory? Isaiah 43:7. It's for His good pleasure, not for mine. And if I'm not careful, I can get so careful with things that I discourage another brother, another sister. I could give you illustrations right now for the sake of time. I won't. I could give you illustrations where I've done it in my life. I had something that was so precious to me. It was something stupid. I mean, idiocy in my life. Something that I've took such good care of that when someone come to help me with something, I wouldn't even let them use that. Because how dare them touch that? What about the ministry? We can be so fleshly even in the work of the Lord if we're not careful that we won't even give God the glory for it. Look at my class. Look at our church. Look at my life. We become like the illustration I used back on Memorial Day. We just become a bunch of tombstones. We're taking a stand. We're standing up straight. Everybody looks at our life and they see we're dead to the flesh. We don't have this, don't have that, don't have this, don't have that. We're not doing this, we're not living that way, we don't dress that way. We become so dead to self that we have no life of Christ. And I'm for, by the way, I am 100% for convictions. The vows you vow before God with your own body and your own things in your own life. But the reason we die to self is so that we may bring forth fruit. Much fruit, the Bible says. If a grain of corn fall on the ground and abideth alone, right? But if it die, it bringeth forth fruit. We don't need to live our lives so isolated. We need to live our lives separated unto God. A godly life. Not a death that everyone says, I wouldn't dare go to that church. I wouldn't dare live like those people. Look how miserable they are. No. There's something different about that church. They don't do those things. I don't know anybody that don't live. I don't know anybody that lives as separate as they do. But they're happy. I don't understand it. How they can live without those things and be so happy. That's the life we need to be living for Christ. Yes. Not the life where they have pity upon us because we don't do things. But they envy because we don't do things. Because it's the joy of God living through us. Amen. Lord, we come to you tonight. We thank you for this time. Be with us and guide us. Help us, Lord, in this time, this passage, Lord. Speak to us and guide us. We give you the praise and glory for all these things. Use us, Lord, the rest of this week for your glory, even beginning tonight. Thank you for everyone here, every smiling face. We'll give you the praise for all this in Christ's name. Amen.